it down. So I just, because if you guys don't know, Intel overpays their interns, so they get you in, right? So uh, from that point, the reason I like statistics and math in the first place is that it applies to any industry. I think along with any sort of IT type of work, you can work in any industry and feel comfortable because all you're doing is moving around numbers anyway. So uh, that's how I got in, and then I just got stuck here. I want to say stuck. It just the job's been good, so so I've just stayed, uh, and it's worked out really well because within Intel, there's so many different departments. Like I've worked within, manufacturing, IT, and construction, being able to use an applicable skill set in different places that I just keep. When I get tired of one job, I just move to the next. So it works out. But that's how I got in. Yeah. Craig's story is much better, I'm sure.
No, it's it's different, but I wouldn't
Mm.
say that it's better. Let's see. I had put 10 years into the Air Force and got out and decided that it was time to go on and do something else. Came back to Phoenix, which really wasn't my home, but it's where I liked. And I worked as a contract worker in a technical services group, and I was doing job after job after job. And one of the folks I met at one of those temporary jobs said that Intel was staffing up for the opening of a new factory in Chandler, here in Arizona. Is everybody from Arizona, or is everybody from all over?
Guess you can put it in chat. I'm not sure. I'd say a little, probably mostly Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Okay, not Arizona native.
So yeah, I came back to Arizona, and I'd heard about the new factory in Chandler, which is a suburb of Phoenix. And I went to one of their hiring events, and based on my military and electronics experience, got hired as a technician, uh, pushing wafers through the factory at Chandler when it opened. Um, Now, since that time, um, I'm a pretty self-motivated individual, and I knew I wouldn't live in the factory for too much longer. And at Intel, they encourage you to move frequently, and I took advantage of that. Year after year, I moved. I started as just a manufacturing technician. Well, I say just; they are actually the backbone of our operations. Without them, we wouldn't have product. But did that for a year, and then became a systems administrator in the IT department. Became a network architect a year or so later, and then moved into software engineering. So it's exciting to challenge yourself and to move around as often as you can, and don't ever think that picking a single degree is going to lock you into a particular job. I don't think I've ever worked in 20 some years directly for my degree. But having that degree shows that you're a dedicated individual, and it will certainly get you into the door in a lot of places.
Hey, Craig, I know what was your degree actually in?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't have a degree. I've been self-taught in everything that I've done.
Huh. So,
Huh.
and so with, sorry, Craig and I are good friends, but I just didn't know these things about him because I guess I'm selfish. But did like, what did you do in the Air Force that prepared you for technology work?
So the field that I was in the Air Force is called metrology, not meteorology,
Oh,
but
yeah,
metrology. It's a science of
measuring
measurement.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, somewhere in the world, there's a National Institute of Standards and Technology, and they say that 1 volt is this amount. And if you make any type of electronic product, you will reference yourself all the way up the chain to the National Institute of Standards, and so that you can say that your volt as measured is within a percentage of their volt. And that then expands out into everything from baby scales at the the natal ward in the hospital, to dosimeters in the radiology department, to a speedometer in an aircraft, right? All of those things that measure something else, if it's crucial, has to be traceable. And that's what that job was all about. So I worked on radiometry, I worked on physical dimensional measurements, I worked on electronic measurements, radar, just all kinds of stuff. And that gave me a great background in electronics, so that when it came time to work for Intel, I was a good fit for their technician role. Now, since that time, right, each new role that I've wanted, I've taken the initiative to go off and learn that field. It's certainly the hard way. Don't let me kid you. It is certainly the hard way to get there. And all of my kids, right, have had the opportunity to go to college, just because I'm such a believer in what it does for you, in what you achieve in 2 or 4 years. That will put you 10 years ahead of someone without a degree. It's certainly valuable. I was just hard-headed, and I'm like, I can learn this.
All right.
All right, so our other guest has made it in too. Seema, I think I saw her name somewhere. Seema, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I can share my videos.
There she is.
Hi, everyone.
So Seema, if you want, just introduce yourself, your title at Intel.
Okay.
And then a fun fact, if you have a fun fact you want to share. I know you have plenty of fun facts, so it doesn't matter which fun fact do you want to share.
I just am fun.
You're fun. And then we were just talking about your experience getting into the field. And I know you had a similar but different way of how you got into the technology field.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go on one at a time, but hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Seema, and I'm a software engineer. And I work at Intel. I've been at Intel for now about a little more than 4 years. And yeah, I've like worked in several teams, but right now my main focus is in like data analytics and manufacturing data as well. And I've worked on like different types of technologies. I've done like web development. Right now I'm doing Python, some, data science stuff as well. So I've like done a little bit of everything. And I joined Intel right out of college. I was kind of sucked into the computer science field because of my parents, to be honest. I didn't really have much of a choice or a say in that factor. It was either engineering or medicine, and I decided that I wanted to go kind of in the easier route. And yeah, I got my undergrad in India because that's where I lived post middle school. I moved there with my family. And then my parents were also big believers on like doing your further education. So they told me that you have to get out and do your master's as well. So I was like, if I'm going to do my master's, I'm going to do it in like a place to follow my actual dreams, because I always wanted to get into Hollywood. It's still a thing. And that's why I said, if I'm going to go, I'm going to do it in either USC or UCLA. And then I got into USC. So that's where I did my master's. And unfortunately, like Intel brought me to Arizona, but I love it here too. It's close to California, so I'm fine with that. And yeah, I've been, as I said, in several teams. I started off as a systems engineer, but I've always loved, I've been coding since high school. I really like the fact that you can think logically, because I am such a creative person. And I think working and solving problems gives me that balance to be creative, but also to solve problems. So that's like a big passion of mine. So yeah, and it's been great so far. Did I answer all the questions? I don't know.
How did you get into Intel?
Oh, yeah. So I did an internship during my summer. It was a pretty straightforward interview, and it was in the Santa Clara branch. And yeah, I did there, but they weren't offering roles then for their team, like as a full-time employee. So I went back to college to finish my degree, and somehow I was still in the pool. So then I got a call from another like team to interview with them. And I think that was an interesting process to see that even though I didn't get picked up from one team, I was still like in their pool for other people to, seek out myself. So yeah, it's been really good. So like the process was good. And I would say that at Intel, one thing that's really cool is that it's such a vast company, such that like you can change teams, but do something completely different, but be in the same company and not worry about like the other things, like the benefits of it. So, and you can also learn, like as Craig said, he's been learning different stuff in every team. So I've also been learning a lot in each team. So even though it may seem like a lot, like, oh, I've worked at Intel, like when I heard them say like I've been working at Intel for 27 years, I'm like, how can you work in a single company for that long? And then you realize because there's so many teams that you're getting a different experience in each team. But I think another big thing is like you should keep learning and growing from each team, because the minute you get comfortable is like when you want to start like growing and getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you also stay at places a while if you keep showing up and they keep paying you. That helps too.
That's always helpful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys mind if we take 2 questions? We've had a couple
Oh.
questions pop up.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So the one you spoke to it a little bit, but maybe you can go into more detail. What types of jobs are at Intel?
Oh man.
I know
I can
there's so
talk to that.
many.
Yeah, I'll talk to that briefly.
Yeah.
So Kimo and I met because of the construction that goes on at Intel, building new factories, right? Each new generation of processor that we build demands improvements to the tool set. So there are construction managers, there are, all kinds of things like that. We're on the other side of the row or the aisle. I'm sorry, I've been away from the office for so long, I've lost those terms. But you'll have a doctor who's working on process improvements for the wafers. You've always got all of the standard infrastructure, all the standard IT stuff. Some of the more interesting jobs I've had, for a little while, I was a drone pilot, running autonomous drones through warehouses in the campus in Oregon. I've worked on artificial intelligence, where I trained our AI product to detect damaged packages in the supply chain. I would say just about everything that you want to do, you can probably find in a corporation the size of Intel.
If you're looking on the technician level, we have maintenance technicians, we have lab techs, we have guys that run and move wafers around technician wise. When it comes to engineering, we have electrical, mechanical, we have computer science engineers, we have I think just about, we have industrial engineers. We had any type of, I think pretty much any type of engineering that you want to get into, maybe except for maybe not civil. We don't have that many. We probably don't have.
We do have civil though, like for
we
the
do?
construction.
Oh yeah, we do, huh?
You do need civil.
Yeah, we even do have like architect people too, stuff like that. So
and then you have like lawyers as well, and the legal, HR, all of that.
We got a lot of lawyers. So, yeah, lawyers. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So I think there's just about every profession within the company. There's quite a bit. We have a lot of patent attorneys too, that type of stuff. Yeah. So the types of employees, but I think we're kind of engineer driven and kind of engineer heavy, right? Mm-hmm. And within the IT area, we have a lot of people who write code, not enough, and we have a lot of project managers, a lot of just direct people managers, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's so I think when you have 110, 120,000 people in a company, there's quite a breadth of of people and talents.
Yeah, there's
So,
even what do they call it? Entertainment hotels. There's a field name for that, like hospitality or something.
yeah.
Like
Oh,
we have
corporate
people.
service.
Yeah, even have people, that are a hospitality degree that work on managing the cafes and the food programs all around the world for Intel.
Yeah.
So there's just everything that you could even think of.
Yeah, crazy.
Excellent. So is Tyrone here? Because we did have one other person from Intel that was going to join us from research, I think. Did Tyrone make it in? I was just checking because sometimes we just see phone numbers. We don't see names. Okay. I don't think he's here. Okay. Kimo, I know you addressed the one question, but Seema, you may have a different experience. Does Intel pay for a master's degree?
Yeah, I was gonna type. So I was not in Intel when I did my master's, so that was outside. That was before I joined. But I know because I've asked my manager like if I wanted to get like another degree in something else, how does Intel cover it? And I believe that they do, if it, for the most part, if it's like another degree that you want to do, especially if it's a technical degree. Like say if I wanted to go get another master's in like data science or something like that, they will provide for that. And that's pretty cool for the most part. I heard they also do it for MBA. It also depends on like how that's going to help you for your team and the job, because ultimately the knowledge that you're gaining from that is what's going to contribute back to the company. So that's what they're ultimately looking for. It's kind of like an investment on your knowledge and in turn to the company. So yeah.
And I think, go ahead, Craig.
In addition to the degrees, those that are pursuing professional certifications, like I saw somebody is doing network administration, Christian, like your CNAA, that type of stuff. Intel will compensate you for going off and getting that certification. For me, there's a couple of different human factors engineering certifications that I want to get, and they'll pay for most of that, and a lot of those are not cheap. You'll pay $5,000 to attend a week worth of training at some of these suppliers.
Yeah, but for like $1 billion company, that's just not that much money, right? So, so what did I think there are some caveats. I think they expect you to be working full time when you do it. So, and it has to be applicable to your role within the company. So that's how we do it. And it's been pretty good. I've known a lot of people that have, the most common one that I've seen, but that's just the people I am around, is that if anybody is like an engineer and wants to go and get an MBA, they'll actually pay for you to go and get your MBA, as long as if you commit to like a couple years, or I don't even know if you have to commit like for a number of years. I think you can just move on after.
Yeah.
But
I think so.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so we have another question. I don't know if you guys know the answer, and it may vary, but what makes what Intel Intel intern starting salary, I guess?
Oh, that's a good one.
Wait,
yeah, go ahead, Seema.
Wait, what does it say? What makes an starting salary? Wait, can you repeat that?
No. What makes an intern at Intel starting out?
Oh,
stay at Intel permanently.
Intel permanently. Yeah, okay, got it. So it's several factors. To be honest, if you are like doing a good job at your work and you're keeping in touch with your manager, because they're ultimately going to be making the decision, you should have those conversations early. Say like, hey, I'm planning to graduate in this time. What do the prospects look like? I think that communication is really important, but it also is a luck factor, because sometimes a team might not have the budget to hire you as a full-time employee. Sometimes they might have the ability to keep you on as like a part-time intern throughout your school till you're done, and that's also a good way to get more experience. But it's like between what their budget is and then also how well you're doing. But I wouldn't say like don't put, don't give yourself a hard time if you don't, but also just keep the communication open. It's not really that tough to permanently get hired. Just make sure that you're showing like that you can learn fast. You're working with the other team members and you get some good projects, and show what you can contribute back to the team. Show that you're worth that investment to the team, so that when they hire you as a full-time employee, they will think that their decision was right. So yeah, like, you guys have anything to add to that?
So there was what makes you want to stay after you were
Or
an
like
intern?
what makes them, I mean, not, I think it was like what you need to do in order to stay, right? And um, what makes an
What
intern and
makes an
starting out to
intern at
stay,
Intel starting out?
staying,
Part of it was too,
Yeah.
what makes you want to stay. I think
makes
that's,
you
Oh.
want to stay.
I think
Yeah.
Timo touched
Yeah.
on it earlier when he said they pay me lots of money.
I mean, it's not like, I don't know about just that. I would say one thing that I will recognize about Intel, because as a software engineer, you might like see there's so many companies, but I would say the one good thing about Intel is that there is a decent work-life balance, to be honest. I know it might not have the same thing with all teams, or it depends on your positions, but speaking to myself, I'm really blessed, especially with the COVID situation, everything, that I still have that time to, pursue my other extracurricular activities and, do all those things that I'm passionate about, along with having a daytime job. So I think that I'm glad I get that balance. And, depending again on your team, it's very flexible. They, give you time off, pay time off when necessary, and all of that. So there are some benefits to it that is, I guess, standardized in a company compared to maybe a startup or something of that sort.
So it's
Yeah.
not cramped your social life, Seema. You're still
Yeah.
going on photo shoots and Christmas.
Yeah, I am staying pretty busy for the most part because of this, like, and I guess it's, yeah, now that it's like work from home, it's like even more flexible. It's like, okay, you can, I think you can go, you might not have to work from this time to this time. If you don't have a meeting, it's pretty flexible in the sense like, okay, if I have to go for an appointment at this hour, you can make up for it at a certain other time. But it's, in that sense, pretty flexible.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I liked when I was an intern is, so I did like the type of people I was working with. Um, there's a code of conduct that I liked. There was a certain expectation of professionalism that you're expected to have. Even though we have a casual dress code, I did find that most people were pretty professional and dedicated to their work. So that was a good thing I liked. I like the subject matter that we deal with. I like the technical work. I like the fact that I was actually able to use my degree instead of just making, a lot of times, some jobs you end up just making PowerPoint slides all day and moving numbers around on a spreadsheet. But being able to do data analytics and do statistics was cool. The different types of jobs you can have and the different variety, also different places you could move to if you wanted to for different sites. That was kind of cool. But most of all, it's a good paying job. I don't know. I don't think we're at the top of the scale, but I think we're competitive. And we have good benefits. We got good medical, good profit sharing, stock. We get stock grants, bonuses, that kind of standard corporate type stuff. So although it's not going to be like if you go to some startup and the startup gets sold to some gazillionaire for $1 bazillion, you're all going to be filthy rich. But there's also something to be said for, a good paying job where you can over time build up a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
That's
And the
pretty
brand
cool.
name, like it's helped me,
Yeah.
like, if for, just in general, I see that I get like pinged a lot by other recruiters and stuff because just through that. And I've heard that from other peers of mine who work at Intel as well. Just that brand name does help you
Yeah,
stand
I
out
get
in your
hit up by
resume.
Amazon all the time. Like, silly. So to go back to that internship discussion, if you have the opportunity to do an internship for Intel and you do a good job, more often than not, that will result in an offer of full-time employment. Unless you have other competing offers, accept that and take that full-time position, and that sets off just the most wonderful starting point for your resume. Because these days people do, they'll come in and they'll work 2 or 3 years and move on to something else, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I'm pretty old, if you can't see me, pretty old. And back in the day, right, you got hired and you worked forever, and that's kind of what I've done at Intel, but I've moved job to job within Intel, and covered a lot of ground, done a lot of things. But yeah, if you get that internship, you do a good job, take that offer, put in a couple of years, and figure out what do you want to do next. If it's not at Intel, then you've got that on your resume to get you into the next company.
Excellent. So you've kind of hinted at keeping your skills up to date and switching jobs on a regular basis, which would likely mean you're having to keep your skills updated. What do you guys do as far as staying on top of it and staying current?
I'll go. So the next field for me is designing interactions for augmented reality. There's not a lot of training available for that on the web. So I've reached out to others in that industry and asked for mentorship. And a few have responded. So again, it's typical for me, this long course of self-study, working in the evenings to try and learn how Adobe After Effects works so that I can put together whatever I need for my portfolio for that. But internally at Intel, we have relationships with what's it now called, Degreed, I think is what it is, and they've got curated training tracks for just about any field at Intel, where you can sign up and begin getting training. And being inside the company, you can easily reach out to somebody else who's working already in the field that you want to be in, and ask them for mentorship. Ask them, how do I work towards this? Give me a path for 2 years down the road, I can get in here. Or if there's an entry-level position, how do I do that? All of those people who are self-starters will find a path at Intel.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a different, I didn't go into like augmented reality or all this cool stuff that, Craig is always talking about. But I did at one point, I did pursue a Six Sigma certification, which helped out a lot. It was interesting. I don't, if it really is all that great anymore. I think it was seems like a 90s fad that's kind of drifted away, maybe, I don't know. But that was good. Anytime that there's any types of developments within software packages you're using, Intel's always offered to send you to whatever training or certifications that way you need to go pursue to make your job better. I've done the certified quality engineer type of training through some of the outer boards stuff. Basically anything other than going back to school and getting a PhD. So, which, I don't want to do. Too lazy.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. We have a student that would like to ask a question verbally instead of typing. So go ahead. Is it Triana? I'm not sure if I said that right. Okay.
I've been trying to figure out how I could phrase this in the best possible way, but I think I'll just go ahead and say it. So for someone who's interested in the digital arts as well as computer and science, what would you possibly recommend going into?
Did you say digital arts?
Yeah.
Okay, Craig could answer that.
All right, I'll try. So there is ample space at Intel for visual designers and for interaction designers. There is a large group of folks that work in corporate communications, where the digital arts are very important.
Our marketing department's all into digital arts, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think there's opportunities. I think if you're looking on the practical side, I think what Craig does is art, in my opinion, because he does human factor engineering. You say, hey, I want to interact with this website in this way, and Craig basically designs the look and feel and the functionality of it, and then we have the team of nerds behind it that do all of the coding and everything to make it work. And to me, that's art. But if you want to talk about like other digital art and that type of stuff, our marketing department is constantly pumping out different visual things. We're always looking for, or there's always, I think, like we just went through like our marketing department just put out, what was it? What do they call it? Like a theme, like a new
Corporate branding.
corporate branding,
Yeah.
which was a tremendous amount of work. And I know that there's probably a whole building full of designers that were working on this stuff. So I think it's there. Now, how easy it is to get into that field within the company, I have no idea, because I don't work with, like visual,
I would
artists
think
like that.
I would think like having a portfolio just to show your work would like put you in a great advantage, just because even though there are opportunities coming straight out of college, I understand that it's really competitive compared to like back when Intel was hiring a lot more. It's still hiring now, but I just know how competitive it is going out of college and like trying to stand out, because I've been on that side of like understanding college recruitment. And I would just say that having your work published or even in a website or a portfolio, or just if you're a coder, like on GitHub or something, having that really will make you stand out compared to your other peers who are just doing the same college projects. So you guys will have everything in common. So definitely personal work and projects or just internships really help.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that was a good question. I've never been asked that before. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, I don't think we have any more questions right this second. So our last question for the panel was, what do you love about working in the technology field?
Other than money?
Other than money. We know
Oh.
Chemo loves his money.
Gosh.
I
Hey,
think
and that's
everybody
okay,
likes
right? Whatever.
everybody
Exactly.
everybody likes getting paid, right? Like
Yeah.
every 2 weeks when that check shows up, feels kind of good. But I'll tell you what I like about it is that it never stops changing, and there's always something new coming around, and everything gets faster and more complex. So everything just keeps getting more and more, I won't say difficult, but challenging, I think is a good thing. It keeps you on your toes. Like you can't get comfortable. Well, you can get comfortable, but you know what I mean. Like you really have to keep up on it. And yeah, you can't sit still. It's pretty fun. You get to see lots of cool products come around, and you see things change around you pretty quickly. Like, so for example, if we look at even software, um, just the tools that we use within the company and the stuff that our IT department puts out for us to interact with and to do our jobs is light years ahead of when I first started. When I first started, I thought things were really great and things worked really well, but like some of the products that like SEMA's team puts out right now are excellent. And it's amazing to be able to, build that kind of stuff and see it change in your short time that you're working with the company. It's pretty cool.
I think for me, it's definitely like it keeps me thinking, like I can use that logical side that I feel like we tend to forget, especially after high school and college, where we're constantly learning, especially like in math and science and solving problems. I think after that, there's a period where we kind of go stagnant, and in our like daily lives, we don't use it as much. But with coding, it's really nice that I can use that, even though it was never my first love. I think somehow I think I've found that I like it and I am good at it. So it does keep me thinking. And as he said, like, you know, you solve something and to see the final product, even though you might be one piece of that, but to see that final product, or you helping your users in some way that it benefits the company, that's really cool. Or like, for example, you know, like you build a website and then the users are using it and they say like, oh, this has helped me. Like, I'm sure Craig feels that way too when he designs something. That's like the best feeling ever. And I think that can be in regardless of technology, but I think, yeah, that's something that I really enjoy.
Thinking, as I said earlier, I'm old, but thinking back to where we were, like Chemo said, when we started, gosh, Chemo, I think it was the 386 processor, maybe a generation or two in.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
and now, right, the level of processing power available in your hand, by far, by orders of magnitude, exceeds what was available just 2 decades ago. And those leaps and bounds, man, they are amazing. And now I'm looking at projects where, you know, my head-worn smart device talks with the traffic control system, and it beeps at me when I'm getting ready to cross the street and I shouldn't. There's just amazing things that are going on. But our job is to continually improve ourselves, so that we don't get left behind. Continue always with the education, so that you can be there for that next big thing that's going to be created. And yes, Seema, I'm absolutely happy when people are delighted with something that I've designed. That is the absolute most satisfaction I'll ever get.
All right, we do have a question from Ray. So Ray, go ahead and ask.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, first and foremost, thank you so very much for taking the time to be here. Christopher, thank you for inviting me to this panel. I'm coming in a little bit late, so my apologies. But I've been able to capture most of what you guys said, and I have this question for you, I guess, across the board. I'm a bit torn right now into the actual path to take, whether it be that of coding or networking, right? So with Intel as a whole, I know that you have a huge data center, right? Would it, or is it, how can I put this? Is it safe to say or assume that on a network platform, it's much easier to be able to get a job at Intel than that of coding? Because I'm doing coding now, but Seaman, I just don't see it. It's just not for me. I don't like it. You know, I'm trying it and I'm trying to understand it the best I can, but it's just, I can honestly say it's probably not going to be for me, but I want to be able to keep all my options open. So again, my question to you all is, if one is trying to go in for a job with Intel, is the development aspect, you know, developer more easier to get a job than that of the database, data center networking, et cetera, et cetera? If that makes any sense.
Good, Kimo.
Yeah. So Ray, I don't know if we call it easier. I know that we do always have demand for guys that write code. That's for sure. Right, Seema?
Well, yes,
But
but
we
yeah.
also have demand for people that are good with the networking. I think if you're talking just coming out of school going in, I think coding might be the entry position, and then move into networking as something else, as a secondary feat. But Ray, if you don't like coding,
Yeah.
then don't go into coding.
It's not going to be
Go
easier that
network.
way. It's not going to be
Yeah.
easier that way if you're saying that you're, not enjoying it or you don't think it's your forte, then it's probably not going to be the easier option, because going in, you're going to be interviewed, you're going to be asked coding questions. And you have to have a very strong foundation as well. But if you feel like you're like good at like just algorithms and you can think logically, I think that will at least help you, even if you're like not really good at like the syntax and things like that. But yeah, as Kimo said, coding, there's always demand, not just in Intel, but like any place you go to, you're gonna find value in that. But at the end of the day, find what you're passionate about, because if you're passionate and good at something, you're gonna find a job.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to find entry level positions with the networking aspects too, because there's always going to be a demand for that too. Like I don't think our data centers are ever going to get smaller, right? So there's always like data's exploding everywhere. So I don't think it's going to be too much more difficult to just keep looking for that network area.
And I really do appreciate that. And,
Yeah.
that, like I said, that itself was the fear, right? Because of coding, right? Coding is everything. And just like Kimo, I love money too, right? So I want to be able to go into some place that's going to give me the most of my money, because I'm no spring chicken, right? So I have to be able to get on the platform running, right? I can't afford 50, 30 years from now to try to get what Kimo's at, right? So I gotta do it now. So Stewart, the syntax, yeah, that's a huge thing for me. It's just it's just not there capturing wise. But the networking thing is it truly going to be around? You know what I mean? I don't want to go into a field. I was speaking with Christopher about this. I don't want to go into a field where 5 years from now, there is going to be no field, right? Because everything's moving to the cloud, and all of a sudden you're now obsolete. You know what I mean? And then you're in a bad position.
Well,
I think that there's always going to be a need for networking. Don't you think, Craig?
Yeah. Even with things moving to the cloud, there's now a huge network between us and the cloud, right? That's going to be some sort of physical connection. It used to be phone lines, and then it moved to Cat5 cable, and now we're getting a lot of optical connections. A lot of principalities are putting in optical right to the home. But even at that, even if you're talking wireless, that's still a network, right? The fact that it's transmitted without wires doesn't make it any less of a network. While you guys were talking, I did do a quick query against our employee database, and there are 18,000 people at Intel with software in their title, and there are 1,000 with network in their title. So as Kimo was saying earlier, there's always going to be a coding position. But like Seema said, if that's not your passion area, don't invest your future in it. I was a software engineer for 16 years, but I never considered myself to be what they call an alpha coder, somebody who's delighted by layers and layers of abstraction. Jeanette knows what I'm talking about. I just saw you smile.
That would be my husband.
Yeah, her husband is one of those. He can track all the way down from the lowest layer up to the user interface and tell you exactly what's going on. And I could never do it. I relied on programming environments to help me do debugging and to help me understand the scope. There's certainly going to be a job for it, but I think I would try to put a little more work into finding what your passion area is. As an example, even though I was a software engineer, I specialized in user experience. Later, when I was a systems analyst, I still specialized in user experience. I continued to get hired for that skill set. Even where I'm at now, I'm a technical program manager that does no program management. I do all user experience stuff. Strangest thing, but that was my passion, and I kept working towards it, and I found a way to do it no matter where I've been. But since you're on the other end of it, I would definitely try and get closer to your passion area, especially if you know it this early on that you don't like coding.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that.
All right, so it looks like we only have about 5 minutes left, and we want to respect the time of our guest. I'm sure you have another meeting to run off to at 4.
Yes, we
So-
do.
I figured you did.
More money.
More money. Yeah, keep the money coming. So, is there any way that if we have students or faculty or anyone that would like to follow up, is there any way they can reach out to you? Would you prefer them to reach out to Christopher and I, and then we reach out to you, or?
I don't mind putting my email ID in the chat window if
Okay.
anyone wants to reach out.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
And if anyone else wants to do that, go ahead. Otherwise, they can reach out to Christopher and I, and then we can always get in contact with you.
Yeah, I'd appreciate the Christopher and Jeanette filter.
Okay, that's fine. No problem.
But yeah, I'm open to anything you guys, if you guys have questions, I'm always open to answer. No problem.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, same for me. And I'm happy to meet with others on Zoom or wherever to have short discussions.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially if you guys want to talk dirt bikes, that'd be fun.
Yeah, there you go.
So
There's a technology side to that too, right?
absolutely.
You got to keep them running. All right. Well, we want to thank you three for coming in and meeting with our students. I know we appreciate it. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know anything else, Christopher, as far as wrap up. I did not get the whole entire thing recorded, but I think I got at least 45 minutes of it recorded because I wasn't, I just didn't get it
that's great.
started.
Thanks, Jeanette, for putting this all together in such a short amount of time, and thank you all as well. And Jeanette, again, for internet going out and you just jumping in, taking care of things, hosting everything. So I really appreciate that. I'm glad that we were able to put this together, and I know we want to continue doing so moving forward. So if you all you're welcome to come back if you just like, hey, I want to do my own discussion. Yeah.
Anytime.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for everyone that came and participated. Thank you, students. Thank you, faculty. All right.
So long,
All
everyone.
right.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
everyone. Bye.
Nice meeting you. Bye.
Bye.
I'll stop the